Oh, I'm into media that centers around vampires. I don't know for whom this is gonna be a surprise, considering that my channel has featured Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines over the years quite prominently, that I have a playthrough of Redemption, that I'm doing videos on Vampire the Masquerade, the tabletop game, that I do actually play the tabletop in private groups on my own. I'm pretty sure that's like not a surprise for absolutely anybody. However, when you're into a niche gaming genre, what happens is that if you're inside discords or any other social media sites to do with any part of that niche genre, people will be posting about any other game that also features vampires because it is for some reason a very very niche category. Like if I was looking for movies, TV shows, or books that have vampires in them, because it is a rather common trope, I would come up with a quantity that is a lot larger than if I looked for video games that have vampires in them. So when there is a major double A game or a triple A game, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna be getting a triple A. I would class this as a double A probably because it is a split off studio from CD Projekt Red called Rebel Wolves, and this is their first game. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that they would have AAA money, so I would class this as a double A. But when there is a double A game in production, it is rather a big deal. So when they release a new trailer for it, everybody keeps on asking everyone else on, have you seen that new trailer for The Blood of Dawnwalker? And the answer is no, I haven't. We're about to look at it. I do have some predisposition to feel very kind of worried about watching it, just because once again I'm in those discords and I've seen what other people were talking about. A lot of people are afraid that this video game will be a more of a generic monster hunting game, and they're afraid that they had seen that premise before and that that premise most often doesn't get done well. So there's like some skepticism that I have witnessed from other people, but that is not necessarily my own skepticism because I haven't seen the thing. So, how about we start this video with, I know this is gonna be kind of weird, watching the thing. It's only like a 2 minute long thing. Their first ever trailer was like 4 minute long thing. But we can watch a 2 minute long thing. We have the time for a 2 minute long thing, so let's do that just now.
Monsters have always been here, watching from the shadows. And when we were at our weakest, they came out into the light. We feared for our lives, but we should have feared for our souls instead. The vampires didn't come to kill us. No, they came to rule. To turn us into mindless, docile cattle. Not me, though. They tried to change me into one of them. But I became something else instead. Their worst nightmare. Trapped between the two worlds, fighting to even the score, fighting to understand the evil behind it all.
He is out there, watching, seeping into you, growing.
Okay, I will probably miss the gameplay reveal event, and there will probably be somebody else that then will at me going, Berta, have you seen the game reveal event? So let's just put a pin in that for later to watch and talk about that later. I can see where the people are coming from because a lot of people that actually want to play vampire stories just kind of want to play a vampire that's not necessarily against other vampires, interestingly enough. Normally in mythology, vampires serve a very negative point. And yeah, that's precisely where they should be. But people have this very weird romanticized view of being a bad guy where even when they're playing a tabletop that outright tells you that there are no good guys because y'all are vampires, they will still somehow forget that line and will instead see vampires as this um I don't know, a mystical vibe sort of thing. Like it's more of a vibe and fashion and the whole kink of it rather than like mythic as a mythical creature, they do be bad, yo. You know. So I also understand where people are like, I thought that that wasn't what we were setting up from because the previous video shows their world at a much earlier point where this guy is being hounded by people, by humans, and then he runs into vampires that both help his sister and attack his attackers. So people thought that it was more of this like a story where you have to kind of pick a side and both sides are kind of gray. Well, this trailer has moved the timeline of all of that is gone and over. The war between vampires and humans is over and vampires have won, and now you are fighting them as this not a fully transformed vampire. Honestly, it gives me vampire vibes. It's giving me Blade vibes, and I do genuinely enjoy both of those vibes. My personal my personal concern is the sword combat, the bosses. It makes me think that it might be in between like Dark Souls like and The Witcher, where it is an RPG whose combat is a lot more precise and a lot harder than, let's say, Skyrim or Oblivion, which feels like a more casual RPG. There are RPGs that I do very well. Once again, I have done Morrowind, I have done Oblivion, I have done Skyrim. That doesn't get my blood pressure running. I don't get issues with it. With Vampire and The Witcher, you do kind of really need to know how to build your character because the game difficulty can feel kind of brutal. And then with Dark Souls, while there was a singular Dark Souls game, Dark Souls 3, that I have managed to play through mostly due to the help of my husband, it actually had a negative enough reaction on me health wise because I cannot take stress. I have cut out a lot of stress out of my life that I would be fearful to even attempt something like that because I might just damage my heart, and that is obviously not desired. So when I saw like the marionette boss and like the sword fight, that kind of raises my concern. And I do hope that this is still kind of in the space of what I can play. I think I'm gonna be playing it regardless on whether or not I can actually play it. It's just that I've been very stubborn with some RPGs and I've gotten through them, but I wouldn't pick them back up again, or I wouldn't just play them by myself casually just because it isn't very good for me. And I would instead gravitate towards easier to actually play and get through RPGs once again. Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind. If we look at a different genre of RPGs, like the turn based RPGs, that one goes down very well to me. I have no problems playing Baldur's Gate 3. I had no problems playing, I think it was something to do with Eternity, Path of Eternity? I even forget what they're called, but the thing is, if it's like a isometric view RPG with a pause button and a team, and sometimes even like tactical or turn based RPG, chances are I will have no problems with it, even if it is hard. But something that like involves direct sword combat where you have to have a very good reaction time, or else you're gonna take too much damage that you cannot tank through getting hit even once, and with boss fights that last for a significant period of time, that gets my stress going and I can't really handle it as well. So that's kind of my personal concern. But then I saw like the vampire abilities, like just the teleporting through rooftops, the jumping back and forth. It reminded me so much of Vampire, and I really like that. I really like all of those like flyy, teleporty, goey forwardy abilities. They look like a lot of fun, and they look like they're very smooth. As in, they don't look jarring, they don't look janky, and they don't look like you would get disoriented using them. They just kind of look seamless. Of course, this is a trailer. It's not like a hands on gaming experience, but you know how there's Bloodlines 2 coming, and there are quite a few trailers for like the new version of Bloodlines 2. The fight sequence in those at all times is looking very junky and like it would be unruly and unfun to play. This looks like the opposite. This looks like a very mobile, very seamless vampire game. So for me, I feel very excited about that because it just kind of it has that Witcher vibe. It has like that vampire vibe. It has like a little bit of Blade, considering that you're like the day walker and you're fighting other vampire. It is pretty cool. So like I know where people are coming from, that you're losing that aspect that people thought that was gonna be there, where you can either ally with vampires or with humans, and both sides are kind of gray and it's potato potato. Nobody's like the angels or absolutely the good guys and the bad guys. But at the same time, this looks fun. It's just kind of from this like 2 minute trailer, to me in particular, it just kind of looks like it would be fun to play. Another thing that I had a bit of concern is that this game is supposed to take over. I don't know whether they still kept that, because once again, first trailer to second trailer, things seem to have changed a little. But original game idea when they were giving interviews was that the game is supposed to take place over the span of 30 days. And a lot of people were worried that they will run out of time to actually do this storyline. but the time seems to have only progressed when you did a quest. So effectively, you have to do something during that day for it to count as a day. And if you're just like mumbling around and traveling and admiring the views and trying to figure what's what, the time is not really progressing, or maybe like the day and night cycle is progressing, but like it doesn't count like an in game day. So it kind of seemed okay for me, but considering that the first trailer to second trailer feels like it changed a lot, where once again, in the first trailer, you're just kind of there being chased by people, and then vampires step in and they help your sister that was suffering with the plague, and she survives. And then they go ham onto the people that were chasing you to the war is over and they have subjugated us, and I am this creature that's neither human nor vampire because they tried to transform me into a vampire, but it didn't quite went as well as they expected. I don't know whether that is possible in the span of 30 days. It feels like the narrative of the game perhaps has changed as development progressed, because you could like put it on a timeline of like one thing is like early game and like the other thing is mid game. But if we take that the span is only supposed to be 30 days, that doesn't look like 30 days. It looks like the aftermath of the first trailer that is maybe years removed from like the first event, considering that they're even like baptizing babies with blood, which I thought was a pretty like metal thing to do. I like that sort of tiny, like little lore thing where like the vampires become this like divine overlord, and you're even like baptizing babies with blood rather than water. So I like that detail. It's kind of cool, but I wonder whether what I'm trying to say, both trailers will actually tie into what this game will actually be, or whether something changed in development from trailer 1 to trailer 2. Because I don't know. I'm not a developer, of course I wouldn't know. Either way, from what's there currently, it looks good and it looks like it would be fun to play, at least for me. And if it's coming out in 2026, that's at most in a year and a half, if that's like late into 2026, or half a year at like the earliest. So I'm assuming that the development is going well if they can put a date that's fairly close by. So personally, I'm kind of hyped. I'm definitely you sold me on it at the moment at the very least. I would love to get this on release and actually play through it. And I hope that nothing happens to the project and that nothing happens to me, and that that is something that actually comes to fruition, something that I can actually do. Because once again, this is a fairly like small niche genre in gaming. The whole video games about vampires thing, it's a like a very very tiny amount of them exist, especially ones that can be classed as double or triple A. So that immediately puts a spotlight on this game. So I'm already like primed because I like the topic, but I'm liking the execution that's being shown to me. So I am excited. It's to my liking. Now, what do you think? Is it did the second trailer hype you up? How do you feel between the second and the first trailer? Because once again, there were people that felt really bad about what seemed like to be a change in lore and a change in direction of what the gameplay is about, or at the very least, there was they were imagining that the game was going to be about something different than it ended up being showcased over here. So I understand like their disappointment, but what do you guys think? Is this something that you're interested in? Does this look good? Did the first trailer look better than the second trailer? Are you connecting the dots between them? Did you expect it to go somewhere else? Is this something that you're considering to play? So, let me know. Let me know in the comment section down below. For now, thank you so much for watching. If there is anything like super good about this in the actual like gameplay reveal that's coming on June 21st, and it's like a whole event. If it's like super good, then I suppose I'll have to make like another separate video, but that won't be out for like a while because I am a slowpoke and I tend to do all my videos like normally I do them a month in advance, but the idea is just to have enough backlog that if I get sick or if something happens to me or I get like migraine attacks or I have to take care of the real world, I can just set stuff uploading to YouTube because I have it there. But then some weeks I'm like really good and I'm streaming and I'm interacting with people and like at least half of my backlog doesn't get used and then it gets pushed back a little. So these kind of things, they kind of end up being pre-recorded and then I kind of plan on what feels more urgent to release. So some videos end up laying around for quite a few months. Other videos end up laying around for like a few weeks. So, you know, when I'm recording this, the whole gameplay reveal is not here yet. It's maybe like a week till gameplay reveal is gonna be here. So if I do end up looking at the gameplay reveal and it looks good and I have something to say about it, it's gonna be once again some weeks at the very least until I'm able to like talk about it to YouTube. But I went on like on a complete tangent that you don't need to think about and that you don't need to hear about. So sorry about that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being subscribed to me if you are. For vampire content, once again, I'm doing like tabletop about Vampire the Masquerade on Fridays for the most part. Other kind of things just kind of take the backlog because in the gaming space, we don't get vampire games like ever, pretty much. So when it happens, it's a big deal. But as we don't get vampire games ever, pretty much, having a channel that covers only vampire games would be a fairly moot point. So instead, I'm covering Vampire the Masquerade the tabletop on Fridays, and I do whatever the shit I want on the other days. I'm so sorry for swearing. So just like check out the rest of the channel, see how you vibe with it because I'm like such a divisive person. I'm into occult, I'm into vampires, but I'm also into prissy girly things. So, it's a bit all over the place. So if you haven't subscribed yet, just kind of take a look at what I have in the back and if you like maybe drop me a subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And of course, thank you so much for my Patreon supporters. You are the only reason why I can enjoy gaming. That money goes directly into my gaming fund, which I used to fund all my games. So that game will be bought from that money. That's how things work. So thank you so much for allowing me to enjoy the joy of gaming. And I hope I'm gonna see you all in my other videos. Toodaloo.